And we're back. Hello guys, it's Krocolate. I've been trying to make this video for a while now. OBS keeps blowing itself up. I keep sounding dead when I'm recording and having no heart in it. Yeah, no, we're getting straight to business right now. It must be one of the most influential pieces of media, in my opinion, in the last 100 years. People have made countless references, callbacks, inspirations drawn from it in the last decade. Decade? No, century. Yeah, it's not 100 years. It's the 170th anniversary now. But like, yeah, you know what I mean. The original piece of media it came from called out humans like negligence and stupidity, like the way that we as a people were harming our own neighbors and our planet and like just messing things up. So what are we talking about? Godzilla, of course. Godzilla has to be one of my most favorite, like, franchises, that I know of. And, like, I originally was introduced to Godzilla through this little game right here. Godzilla Monster of Monsters for the NES. I played this a lot in my childhood. And this was like a clunky mess of a, I wouldn't even say a beat 'em up. It was like a mash 'em up side scroller. And like you like move like a chessboard, and then when you land someplace, you get this side scroller segment. It's very stiff and clunky, and you're not even on planet Earth. You're on different planets, hitting mountains and like volcanoes in the background, and like it was weird. You could play as Mothra. It was really hard, but you could play as Mothra. But when you get to the segments where you're like fighting the other monster, it gets really enjoyable, and like it's what I had as a kid. So you grow accustomed to what you have and find enjoyment in it. And I still would pop this game in and I would still play it till this day. And actually, honestly, I should beat it one day because it's like really difficult. And there's two characters in this game that are actually in the code, but they're not actually playable. There's Anguirus, the Luigi of the Godzilla series. I love that guy, my favorite character. And Rodan, which is pretty cool because Mothra, Rodan, and Anguirus were like Godzilla's homies in the Showa era. You'll notice later on in this video, Godzilla comes in different eras. There's the Showa era, which is from 1954 to 1975. There's the Heisei era, which is from 1975 to 1995. Then there's the Millennium era, which was 1999 to 2004. And then now we're in the Reiwa era, which was 2016 to the present day right now. Now, these are the Japanese eras because that's where it originated from. But you also got like the MonsterVerse era or categorization of Godzilla, which is the American ones that you see with like King Kong and all that. There was TriStar. We don't talk about TriStar, but I have to talk about TriStar. When I tell you Godzilla is one of the most influential series and franchises, I mean that like no other. It inspired what we know as the tokusatsu genre. Okay, sorry. It didn't inspire it, but it definitely popularized it. I'm pretty sure it was something before Godzilla. I'm not gonna act like I know like the whole like terminology of Japanese cinema. It could have been a theater thing, for all I know. But tokusatsu is basically practical effects, which is something that I'm very into. Like you know, like Jaws and the Alien movies. Like they actually have costumes and stuff, or like the Predator movies, Sesame Street. All of that is like practical effects, and I'm really into that. In Japan, their practical effects is like tokusatsu, which you're thinking of like things like Power Rangers, Kamen Rider, Ultraman, which I was honestly into Power Rangers and Ultraman. Beetleborgs, the Japanese live-action Spider-Man show, like all those are tokusatsu, and you can thank Godzilla for inspiring that. or influencing it to be way more popular. So what I'm saying right here is this TriStar movie of Godzilla. I know I'm just like using this as a segue to bash on a movie that's made in America. Okay, so Godzilla was so influential. You see so many references and callbacks from other media. You see it like Ed, Ed, and Eddie for the Nintendo GameCube. The Kanker sisters are like King Ghidorah. King Ghidorah appears in so many door gags in Courage the Cowardly Dog. Mugira from the robot from the Mysterians movie, which was a Toho movie, which also led to Godzilla, for that robot to appear in Godzilla. But, like, that one was referenced in a episode of Sonic X, and Mothra were referenced in an episode of Kirby Right Back At You, with even has tiny little twins that sing. But, like, there's so many references. The Simpsons. But then you have all that influence. You have all that influence everywhere. Godzilla is on the Walk of Fame. Godzilla got a citizenship. Godzilla fought Charles Barkley in a 1-on-1 game of b-ball. Godzilla has Godzilla-sized Nike shoes. You cannot tell me Godzilla is not one of the most influential fictional characters who might as well just be factual, non-fictional characters. And then this movie, Godzilla, drops in 1998 in the... Is it just in North America when it dropped? I have no idea, but this is a North American-made movie. You can't tell me that Godzilla, that influential, that important to media, and then your slogan on the box and the movie is "Size does matter." You can't tell me you give that slogan to this IP. Do you know how many critics will get hit in the heart because of that? What were they thinking? With that all aside, I really like video games. I really like Godzilla. My grandfather introduced me to the Godzilla movies. As I said, this is my introduction to Godzilla. My grandpa had this like glass cabinet, and he had a bunch of monster figurines in there. He had like the Phantom of the Opera. He had Dracula. He had the Wolfman. And they were all like these buildable figures that he would then paint, model kits. And then he also had these monsters that I recognized. He had King Ghidorah and King Godzilla. And I'm like, oh, I know them. Then he introduced me to the movies, and then that's how I really fell in love with it. I already liked Power Rangers and all these other things. All I wanted at that point was a Godzilla game where he actually destroys cities and fight kaiju, because that's what Godzilla was to me. Besides the first movie, the whole series of Godzilla is just about him beefing with other giant monsters, right? And then making a homie with the goat Anguirus. And then they both tag team and like run a train on various other kaiju that just pop up being dickheads. I only had that like clunky side-scrolling game. I wanted a real Godzilla fighting game. And that finally came on October 15th, 2002. In North America, PAL regions got it on November 15th, and Japan got it on December 12th. The reason they got it on a little different day, I think, was because it was actually tying in with a movie that was dropping 2 days later on the 14th. That movie being Godzilla against Mechagodzilla. You see, Mechagodzilla in the PAL and North American version is Mechagodzilla 2, which is from the Heisei era. Mechagodzilla 3 was in the Japanese copy of the game, which was from the Millennium era, which that version of Mechagodzilla is also called Kiryu. And then the following year, in 2003, April 15th, a Xbox version was released only in North America. There was supposed to be a PlayStation 2 version during the GameCube releases and stuff like that, and was going to have an exclusive character of Baragon in it, which was like 70% done. But like the game never came out, and then Baragon never got completed. The Xbox version that released had both of the Mechagodzillas in it, and also a DLC stage called Trashbird, which was like an industrial area, and there's like 3 different versions of it. It also had like a boxing arena stage that wasn't in the GameCube version, as well as the Vortex Motherland, or like Home Planet, whatever. And I just found that really cool. I've never got to see them, So let them play. Oh, wow. No way. Oh, that's sick. But like this game is everything that I wanted out of a Godzilla fighting game. I didn't get this when I was a kid. My friend had it. I borrowed it. I loved it. Told him, hey, I know you sell your games after you buy them and beat them. Sell it to me after you're done. A week later, he sold it. Not to me. And so I was dead inside. I did end up finding the game again in 2009. But it was this game for $20 or Amazing Island for $9.99. I went with this because I wanted it really badly. I knew it existed, never seen it. I knew this existed, and I've seen it, and it was more expensive. So I ended up going with Amazing Island because I thought it was the rare one. Little did I know for the next, 12 years, I would never see this game again. But I was actually playing Rampage Total Destruction in the meantime when I didn't have Godzilla, which was really funny because these two games are made by the same people. Pipeworks Studios. Pipeworks Studios brought you other games such as Zumba Fitness, Boogie, some Jeopardy games, as well as Pajama Party, Charms Girls Club. Charm Girls Club, yeah. But this Godzilla game, honestly, I'm surprised that there's not many more games going on currently. This ended up being a trilogy. I do actually have the third one for the Wii, which I need to get the other one that was for the Xbox and PlayStation 2. But what can I say about Godzilla Destroy All Monsters? This was actually everything I was looking for in a Godzilla fighting game. I already said that repeatedly. It's an arena fighter. That means it's a game where you can fight in an arena. You can move front, back. You can move all around. You get free range. When I think of arena fighters, my mind normally goes to those anime fighting games that kind of doubles as a party game. Think of the Power Stone for the PlayStation or in the Dreamcast. I think it was Dreamcast. As well as these One Piece fighting games that were for the Gamecube back then. Not that this game plays just like those, but just the concept of you're in a open arena, you can move up, down, left, right, and stuff like that. In this game, you're going to be fighting in actually really large arenas. For the most part, they're large. So what happens is that the levels actually get 3 different variations. Let's say you have Seattle. You might have one area playable of Seattle, and then there's a second variation, which is another part of Seattle, and then you have just Seattle, which is both segments together for one huge map. Most stages in this game work in that way, except for the boxing arena and Vortex Motherland that I mentioned in the Xbox version. But in the GameCube version that I played, there's Monster Island and Vortex Mothership. Those versions only come in one variety, but they have more gimmicks than the regular Earth, human-based cities. On the Mothership, you get this semi-arena that makes the stage really small. But if you destroy the pillars, it takes down the force field and makes the stage a lot larger. While on Monster Island, there's this one blocked off area that you can destroy the rock walls, and then you get into this magma area where if you're laying down or standing in it, you take damage. And the regular cities don't have gimmicks like that. You can choose to pick up buildings and just yeet them at your opponent, which is really satisfying with the way that they just collapse to the ground when they get an apartment whipped at their face. The characters are not really agile. You're not going to be doing crazy combos in your standard kind of fighting game. But that's not what I'm looking for in a Godzilla fighting game. I'm looking for giant, hulking monsters hitting each other. The hits that these characters do in this game, they feel hefty. People go flying. People get crushed. And one of my favorite things is when you whip an opponent into a tall building and they splat their back on it and the whole building just collapses on them. It's really satisfying to do. Some of the movement is a little bit stiff in this game, which is understandable. They are giant monsters. They are not agile. So, like, I can forgive that. But sometimes, like, when you're trying to, like, pick up a building, the character feels a little clunky and won't always just do it, and they'll end up just grabbing the air, because it's the same button. To grab an opponent is the same to grab a building. And sometimes they just don't grab the building, and they just grab the air. And that's kind of frustrating, which that could actually be caused by the camera angle, I suppose, which also can be a little bit annoying. Especially if the CPU is not following you, because, like, if the CPU is on the other side of the stage and there's more stage behind you and you try to walk away, at some point you're walking into an invisible wall and can't get over there. And it's really annoying if there's an item over there that you want and the opponent won't follow you so you can get it. It's really aggravating, honestly, sometimes. But it's something that I can pass over because of just how enjoyable the game actually is. The developers honestly put a lot of care into, like, each of these characters. Something that I heard as a complaint online was how all the characters feel the same, which is something I find extremely confusing. One of my favorite things in this game is the fact that every character feels vastly different to play as, with different speeds, different strengths. Some can fly, some can dig in the ground. It's like, they honestly do feel like their whole, like, different game plan that you have for each character, and that's how a fighting game should feel. There's some characters that I feel like can really cheese, but, like, honestly, I feel like there's some pretty good balance in this. Kind of. In all the GameCube versions of this game, you get 11 characters. 12 in the Xbox One because you get both of the Mechagodzillas. If any of these characters do feel kind of similar, I would say it is Godzilla 90s and Godzilla 2000s. Because they are legit the same character. They just got like a different little, slightly different stat spread. But they have the exact same moves and everything. Even their Ultra move is the same. The other character I can think of is King Ghidorah and Mecha King Ghidorah, but both sets of those characters are legit the same guy. Mechagodzilla 2 and Mechagodzilla 3, or Kiryu, they don't even have the full, like, same move set. They do seem different from what I saw. So, like, I don't think that, like, I think there's a variety of this. I don't know. I find it as a weird complaint. Like, you got characters like Anguirus. Anguirus can't block. Like, there's a button to block in this game. Anguirus does not block. He actually just turns his back, and if you hit his shell, you take damage. That is what he does, and he takes less damage. And if he's running, he goes on all fours. And when he's like that, he can't be tripped, and he gets, like, a slight defense boost on overhead attacks, which I just think that's really sick. And then you got characters like Megalon. He can burrow in the ground and pick you up from underneath. And if you hold the jump button, he kind of just hovers there, which I thought he could fly. He does it in the movies. But in this, they just gave him a little light hover. But then you have characters like King Ghidorah, Mecha King Ghidorah, and Rodan, who can just straight up fly. Even Mechagodzilla has some jets and can do that. Rodan has a funny glitch in the GameCube games where when he's flying, there's an energy meter. You drain your energy when you're digging and when you're flying and all that. But his energy meter does not go down when he's doing it. Only until he, like, shoots a blast while he's flying will it start draining. But some people say that's one of the most busted things, if there is a busted character, was, like, because his mobility is crazy, though his defense is really weak. Then you got characters like Destroya, who can actually use energy in his meter to put, like, a beam on his attacks that just, like, gives him a little bit more reach. Like, and, like, gives him, like, a Marth Tipper, I guess you can think of. Where, like, and if he doesn't have the energy, he still does the attack. It's just, it doesn't have that beam extension to it. Gigan can teleport, and Gigan can also, like, has this berserk thing. When he's doing certain moves, he can kind of, like, super armor through weaker attacks from opponents. Every character can grab, but King Ghidorah and Mecha King Ghidorah can grab while you're behind them. They do this completely different toss where they grab you with their tail. Yeah, and then all the characters have, as I said, an energy meter, which can use to do their beam attacks or secondary projectile attacks. And you can use buildings to take cover. But one that I really like is Anguirus. He has, like, the shortest range blast, I think. Except his isn't actually a blast. It's a sonic roar. So if an opponent is hiding behind a building, and you're doing that, it actually doesn't hit the building. It goes straight through the building and still hits them. Which is really cool, because Anguirus is kind of like, you need to get really close into an opponent. So it just gives him a little bit more versatility and to try to face opponents. Like, either he can hide behind the building and still hit them, or he can hit them when they're hiding, which is something I find really cool. Like, besides energy attacks, characters also have blunt attacks and edged attacks. It's not dependent on what button you press, it's just some attacks are blunt, some of them are edged. A character like Gigan, who has, like, hooks for hands, he has more edged attacks, while Megalon actually has more blunt attacks than he has edged attacks. And some characters have a weakness to blunt, or a weakness to edged, or a resistance to one of the either one. So, like, these characters actually have a lot of differences and nuances to them. And I don't know how the second game is. I don't know how the third game is. But if they actually follow up with this, I think there's, like, such a great, like, structure for a fighting game here. Something I did hear later on is, like, beam clashes in the later games, because there's no beam clashes in this, because but honestly, I think that would be just utterly, like, sick in a fighting game like this. I honestly really love the foundation that this game is. And that's something that I notice that I like out of older games that people might not say is, like, that great or mediocre. I see a game that can, like, if they just tried again, if they just pushed and, like, found how to improve it, I think it would make such a amazing game. Like, there's a foundation here. There is straight up a foundation here with that kind of fighting game, with that kind of, like, character approach for a Godzilla fighting game. There's so many Godzilla characters and so many, like, versatile different ways that you can, like, make the characters to be different from one another. And each of these characters, now that I should have said this before, are unlocked by a specific character while going through adventure mode. So, like, Godzilla 90s, Anguirus, and Megalon are who you start off with. You play as Godzilla 90s to get Godzilla 2000. You get King Ghidorah by playing Megalon. And you play as Anguirus to unlock Gigan, which Anguirus was helping Godzilla fight King Ghidorah and Gigan in the Gigan movie that he appeared in. So there's, like, some small connections here and there that I just really enjoy. I just find that neat after, like, knowing the movies. And I don't know if that's all on purpose or it's just a coincidence. Yeah, I will die on this hill to say that Godzilla, this Godzilla Destroy All Monsters Melee is an amazing game. This is fantastic. The thing is, it is short. And I won't, like, I love my short games. I love Wario World. I love, like, a bunch of Kirby games. Like, I do like Squeak Squad. Squeak Squad was a great Kirby game. But, this is short, but it is definitely short because it is very arcadey. This felt like it should have been an arcade cabinet sometimes. The main story of this game, the adventure mode, is like the arcade mode that you would see in a standard, like, Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat, where it's just a sequence of, like, best 2 out of 3s fighting opponents till the very end. Like, in the end of everybody's runs in this game, you fight Mecha Godzilla. Except if you're Mecha Godzilla, then you fight Mecha King Ghidorah. But, like, the thing is, every character you play as has a different set of characters rearranged in the sequence. It's just they all lead to the same guy at the end, except for Mecha Godzilla. And the point of it is to, like, beat your score on how fast you got to the end. It is a very score-based game. And, actually, something I really want to talk about since I'm on the adventure mode before I forget. But I just want to get the story out of the way. There's not really much of a story. There's only a cutscene at the beginning and a cutscene at the end, which is unfortunate, which is okay. As I said, this is arcade-based. It's not like each character has their own storyline, which I would have loved to see. But the Vortak aliens are attacking Earth, and it's in a very Showa like, campy fashion. They're attacking the Earth to steal its resources, and that's because that's just what they do. That is literally what they said. And they brainwashed all the kaiju except for the kaiju that you selected, and their main defense is Mecha Godzilla. And then you defeat Mecha Godzilla at the end, and they're like, "Oh no!" and then they just leave. That's basically what happens. I also see this kind of like humor in Rampage Total Destruction, which they also developed, and which would make sense. But something I also find funny is like this game is really arcadey. Rampage is straight up an arcade game, and that game is straight up arcadey. And this was like 2002. They're coming off of the Nintendo 64 time. Arcade feeling games were still kind of relevant at that time. Nowadays, I don't think they're definitely not as popular nowadays. I still think games like this have like a place, and it's just a really fun time. There's items in this game you can pick up. There's like health pickups, energy pickup, which makes your energy regenerate faster. And then there's also the Mothra item pickup. You pick up this item and Mothra will come in and start attacking your opponent. In this game, you can actually use the C-Stick to aim where your character blasts. So, if you're being attacked by Hedorah or Mothra, you can actually aim your blast upwards to hit them and they'll go away. You can actually get attacked by Hedorah, which is another kaiju in the Godzilla series, a pollution monster. But this is in its flying form, and if it flies around you, you regain energy slower. And then there's also another item. Oh, that one's not an item. They just appear randomly, that one. And also there's other like pricks that come down and just attack you randomly. There's a human tank that freezes you, and like that's actually whoever destroys the most buildings within the fight, the humans will start attacking them with like planes and like the tanks. I didn't know I was keeping track of who destroyed most of the city for the humans to start attacking that specific kaiju, which that's really cool. There's Vortac UFOs that come by, and they are the ones who drop the health pickups and the energy pickups and like this rage pickup, which makes you do your signature special move, which they're all pretty solid. Some of them are way better than others. Destroyer makes me really laugh because he just shoots something in the air, and no matter where you are, that thing is coming after you. Other modes in this game you're going to see is like there's a team mode where you can team up with a friend to fight 2 other people or 3 people versus 1. There's the versus mode, which is one-on-ones. There's the free-for-all mode. There's a destruction mode where you're actually the winners who destroys the most of the city. There's the survival mode, which is another arcadey mode. Actually, the destruction mode is also very arcadey, but the survival mode is also where you like have 1 health bar and you have to like run through as many kaiju as possible, back to back, and you regain a little bit of health after each match, but you're just seeing how long you can last. And last but not least, there is the gallery. The gallery is going to be what you would really be trying to unlock and achieve in this game. The gallery is like the thing that really 100%s the game after you get all the characters. But the thing is, you're probably going to unlock all of the gallery by the time you unlock all the characters. You unlock all the characters by playing Adventure Mode. In Adventure Mode, if you destroy a certain building within each of the levels, an Atari logo appears. And if you get that logo, you get a picture in the gallery, which is like concept art, some pictures of models, or like stuff like that. And I think it's really neat, but it's honestly, you're going to be getting it by the time you get every single character in this game. Yeah, that's just all the other modes. I honestly don't know where to like end this video and stuff like that, but like it's getting there now. I really enjoy what this game is, but honestly, it is short. I wish there was a little bit more variety to it, and I wish that they've tried to make this as a more long-running series. Because I think to this day, if they really polished on how these kaijus feel, and like having all the monsters feel different from one another, or mostly different. You could have made a really creative fighting game, or like some other. It could have evolved into like some other kind of arena fighter, and that could have been really cool. Other things that this game had was like characters that were supposed to be in it. Godzilla 1954 was a name thrown out, but was never actually considered honestly to be in the game. Jet Jaguar was a character that they wanted, but they weren't able to get the license for that. But Jet Jaguar does appear in the later games. Baragon was cut, as I said. It was supposed to be a PlayStation 2 exclusive. And there was Space Godzilla, though that character does end up being in the games later on. Throughout this game, you see shout-outs to the Showa era, the Heisei era, and the Millennium era. All three eras of Godzilla that were out at the time. And I think they really succeeded in giving all these characters some love. And it does make me happy because, like, during this time, they were trying to, like, I don't want to say forget about the Showa era, but the Millennium era and the Heisei era was trying to make Godzilla more of a, I don't want to say serious, but, like, Godzilla didn't have homies anymore. In the Showa era, Godzilla ended up making friends, and they lived on the island together, Monster Island. They called to each other for help. There was a community within them. And then later on, Godzilla was more of that solo kind of guy who just went out and beat everybody up. And, which is all good. Which is all fine. But, in that, it killed Anguirus. Anguirus, the goat, the homie, the Luigi of the series. And, man, that hurt my feeling after all the memories that they made. But one thing I do appreciate is later on there was this Godzilla movie where all the kaiju, basically, that he's ever fought in the previous movies came back in this movie, where they were actually brainwashed by a bunch of aliens, like in this. Though, in this was in the Millennium era, and this era of Godzilla retconned all the other ones. So he didn't know Anguirus, he didn't know like King Caesar and all these. But there was a fight sequence in this specific movie. Actually, he fought Godzilla from the Godzilla TriStar movie, and so beat the crap out of him in just like a couple seconds. It was really funny. But it's not Godzilla in it. It's like just another kaiju. But there's a sequence where he fought 3 Showa era kaiju: King Caesar, Rodan, and Anguirus. Which is actually really funny because those 3 characters specifically were friends of Godzilla. And originally they were going to have Anguirus look like he was dead. But I like to think that because those characters were friends of Godzilla in the previous renditions of Godzilla in the Showa era, they gave those characters some respect. Because Godzilla beats them up, but he leaves them in a pile. They're not dead. Like, Godzilla, like, messes and, like, kills off some other guys. He didn't do that to those 3 OGs of his, which, I think is really cool. And I'm just going in a tangent now, talking about, like, random Godzilla facts here and there. But, like, it's honest. Like, Godzilla might be one of the most influential and, like, cool characters for, like, IPs and stuff like that. Because with all the references and callbacks and, like, inspirations of modern day giant monster stuff, or even just, like, when I was growing up, all the kind of things that were trying to be the next Godzilla, things like Cloverfield. Cloverfield was pretty cool. I like that, and gave off that, like, Godzilla kind of vibe. It's like the footprint that Godzilla left in media is giant. And I mean that, like, metaphorically and literally. And if you, like, break that, if you did not know what I was talking about, and I said they left an impact, significant impact in media, and their foot was actually that big, you'll drop it down to, like, 2 characters. And if I reminded you, I said impactful, like important, significant. You could just take Sora out of the equation. It's Godzilla!